Have you ever watched Tokyo Revengers and been like, are middle schoolers or young kids ever really this bad? Beating the crap out of each other and like committing serious crimes? Or maybe when you experienced Akunohana, Flowers of Evil for the first time and you thought like, is this even possible? For kids to act like this and have such dark intent underneath the surface? Well, imagine all that violence times 50, and then maybe you've got Juujika no Rokunin. To preface this video, the manga is very explicit, very violent, much more so than the previous anime and manga I even mentioned at the beginning of the video, so if you're not into that, then this might not be your cup of tea. There are many points that are nauseating and pretty gross, but if you want to learn a bit about one of the most cursed revenge and torture manga I've ever read, whether that's a good or bad thing, then let's continue down this rabbit hole. Now, this manga follows the story of Uruma, a boy who is bullied by a group of 5 demented friends in elementary school, and demented honestly puts it lightly. They called Uruma Human Subject 1, as they beat him to an extent that is already pretty dark to start off with, choking him, etc. But as we progress only through chapter 1, it takes a very drastic turn as Shigoku Kyo, the leader of this pack of bullies, tells the boys one thing: that the most amazing thing you can do is kill someone. And this really sets the tone for the manga, like it does glorify killing and torture, so I truly wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I mean, it's entertaining, it's not very long, it's only 38 chapters, and at times it does provide insight into the darkest recesses of human nature, but to an extent that is probably distasteful to most. If you've got romance and slice of life on one side of a spectrum, this is on the entire other side of that spectrum, at the very end. But anyway, to return to the story, the leader of the pack, Shigoku Kyo, is really demented, and his torture of Uruma ends up with him crashing his family's car in a wreck that kills his parents and puts his brother into a coma. Like full-on massacre. And from here, Uruma decides to take revenge on all of them, and thus starting the story. But before he can do that, his grandfather stops him, as it's obvious at this point that Uruma would either be caught by the police or killed by Kyo, since he's just an elementary schooler. An elementary schooler who's already mentally determined to kill 5 people, but still a young kid nonetheless. And his grandfather, a former soldier and another really messed up dude, teaches Uruma over the next 3 years about killing people and fighting, so that when he takes revenge, he's ready. And I mean, no one in this story is really like a good character. They're all really twisted in one way or another. Like, even the female love interest is weirdly obsessed with Uruma and goes to all these dangerous places that no sane student would go to. But no one compares to the main 6 characters, Uruma and the 5 antagonists. The title of this manga, Juujika no Rokunin, doesn't have a direct English translation, but with my intermediate knowledge of Japanese, Juujika refers to the cross, and Rokunin means 6 people. So the title is, down to its bare minimum, the 6 people of the cross, which might be an ironic play by the mangaka to contrast the almost demonic and demented depths to which all these characters show, or maybe it's a way to show that this is the absolute truest human nature with no morals or anything imprinted on them by society. But regardless, this manga is not horror. If that's what you were getting from this review so far, it's not. It's basically just a bunch of torture. Like, the most famous torture anime I can think of right now is Higurashi When They Cry. But that show is very tastefully done with mystery and different storylines and actual scary horror scenes. But this manga is just all of that stripped away for a very dark and explicit story. From like skinning people to what is basically quartering them, it does not hold back at all. Granted, that's not to say it's terrible, because it is interesting, and the art is really good. It definitely encaptures all of their facial expressions very well, from scared to intimidating to whatever this is. It is very well suited to this dark manga. The art isn't smooth or perfect in any way like Berserk or Vagabond nowadays. It's very rough and sharp, and it just fits perfectly. It focuses a lot on characters' eyes, which, to go along with the religious subtext in the title and the idea that eyes are the window into someone's soul, it works once again with the insight into human atrocities that this manga focuses on. Even if their eyes are just pure black, it still tells a story, shows an emotion, or lack of emotion, more often than not. Just about every frame that the main character is in, he's got this really unnerving look on his face, and there isn't a moment in this manga when I didn't feel like something horrible could happen the very next panel. And I gotta say, it does this very well. Because there have been very few times, if ever, that manga has made me uncomfortable or squeamish. But this one did manage to make me grimace a number of times. I'm not going to talk about what explicitly did because, well, 1, I don't want to think about it again, 2, I don't want to spoil in case you guys want to read, and 3, I'd probably get demonetized. The story is also not necessarily bad. Uruma has to deal with a lot of obstacles to find his former bullies. It's not like he's just going one by one and offing them. It's not nearly that boring. One thing that I liked was that the number 1 rule, the rule that his grandfather reminds him of before he starts this journey, is to make sure that the 5 bullies haven't reformed before he does anything. Which is one of the very few morally correct and saving graces of this manga, that the grandfather, who I assume from experience as a former soldier, makes sure that Uruma doesn't just go out and kill people who have changed for the better. It's a fair idea. But we pretty quickly realized that none of these kids are good people. It was really just a nice sentiment to start the story off and show that Uruma isn't just a mindless killer, because it is often said how the moment you kill someone, you're no better than the bad guys. But I guess this just kind of went to morally justify Uruma and make us root for him despite the things he's doing to his former bullies, which are just as messed up as what they do to other people. And we also have to deal with things like school life and police. There are a lot of moments of a rather intriguing cat and mouse chase, whether it's between Uruma and the 5 bullies, or the police, or the love interest who just loves to insert herself into everything involving the main character for some reason. So if you have an hour or 2 on your hands and aren't faint of heart, I guess go ahead and give it a look-see, but again, it's hard to give my stamp of approval on this manga. I'm gonna continue with it as it releases chapters, which I suppose is a testament to it and its merit, or it might just be that I don't like to drop manga once I've caught up. So, yeah. As always, this has been the Anime Culture Corner. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for future in-depth show, manga, and character analyses.